For me, the biggest eye-opener came in the pandemic. The hotel didn't refund us, the influencers did not refund us. That we'll see, we'll figure it out. The rack rate for most is 1 lakh, 2 lakhs. Don't collaborate, no, then don't say yes to an association. Don't say yes to the money if it does not matter to you, because they are willing to take clients' feedback. They want to brainstorm, they love their work.
Is how this market will go forward. Hello, welcome to That's So Mudita, the official podcast channel of Warehouse by Mudita, where we bring you conversations between fashion, lifestyle, luxury, entrepreneurship, and everything in between. So let's welcome Mudita together. How are you?
Very well, Charvi. How are you?
I'm also doing well. Do you agree the weather is great outside today?
It's amazing. It's amazing. We should have shot outside. Next one.
Next time we'll definitely shoot it outside.
Absolutely.
Okay. So today I want to dive deep into a topic that has been on my mind for quite a while. We all agree that influencer marketing has gained quite the pace in recent years, even when Warehouse does all of its collaborations for various events and our exhibitions. Influencer marketing is something we just cannot miss out on, and it is such a dynamic and a constantly evolving space. What are your views on influencer marketing?
So, Charvi, I agree with you. It's a very deeply concerning topic for me as well. Concerning why? Because, back when Warehouse started, like 10 years back, that time there weren't very many influencers to begin with. I don't even think that there were influencers at that point. There were only a few Facebook recommendation pages and, Facebook groups and stuff, which is what Warehouse started with back then. But at that point, what stood out for us is that those groups were genuine. Those groups were legit, and credit where credit's due, they really helped us gain momentum back then. Why? Because they were authentic. Okay, they wouldn't collaborate with everybody. They were picky about what they were doing. They were like sort of voguish, in a digital space. Okay, like today, for example, even if you were to go to Vogue or to Harper's or any of the glossies, they would not collaborate with you just because you're paying them an X amount of money. I hope they don't. You have to have a certain profile, you have to have a certain cutoff. So, that's how Warehouse started. And at that point, remember, a lot of influencers that are macro right now, they even started with Warehouse then by doing FOC shout outs for us. Now, there are a couple of concerns that I have. One, I feel that it lacks authenticity, okay? Because anybody can approach an influencer, and as long as they are given their asking price, at least I've seen it with most, as long as you're giving them their certain price, they are willing to talk about everything. The other thing is the consistency of it. You have one burger post going, one sushi post going, one pizza post going, one holiday post going. In the middle of all that, there is a fashion post going, and then a person who's viewing it is just bumming off, okay?
But then this gives rise to a very obvious question. Suppose I am an audience of a specific influencer and I see them collaborating with anyone under the sun, and it's a confused endorsement to me. Eventually I'll stop believing their endorsements because, I see that they're collaborating with anyone. So don't you think this would impact their engagement, their performance, their audience also?
So tell me something. Now, I don't know whether you've noticed this, but at the start of every season or every 3-4 months, I do this study on my groups that I have on my phone and stuff, like with my focus groups and stuff. I will ask women who are sort of our TG, that which are the influencers that they are following. We even do this exercise on our Instagram.
Yes.
We find out who are our people following, okay? Yes. I'm surprised to see that none of the people that we collaborate with have ever come up on that list. Which brings me to my next point, that for me, influencer marketing for the past few years, for the past few seasons, it's become more about the brands that we have on board. As opposed to my target audience, like my target consumers, because even the brands are our clients and we don't want the brands to feel that we've not invested or we've not marketed and etc. We've done events wherein we've had zero influencer collaborations, and touch wood, it's went off rather well. Even for our Get Powered by Warehouse events, there is no influencer shout outs that we do for that. For us at Warehouse, everything is measured, whether we work on a small campaign or a big campaign or whatever. How many SMS, how many link clicks are we getting on an SMS? How many link clicks are we getting on WhatsApp? Now, link clicks for for the viewers who are watching, it is to see how many people are clicking on that link, on the link that we are giving on our SMS or WhatsApp or to the influencers and all of that. For me, the biggest eye-opener came in the pandemic, because I've spoken about this in our previous podcasts as well. Our show was supposed to be on the 12th of March in 2020. On the 7th or 8th of March, we decided to call it off because the pandemic was spreading and the country was going into lockdown and etc. etc. So we took that call, we called it off. By then, all our influencer collaborations were done. In terms of, we had already paid up. So just in fact, for us at Warehouse, we refunded every single designer's money. The hotel didn't refund us. The influencers did not refund us. That we'll see. We'll figure it out. Not that, for me, everything becomes transactional. Today, whatever said and done, if you're working with an influencer, as long as they are not giving you an FOC shout out, I am not obliged to them in any way. They are giving me a shout out. They are being paid very handsomely. The rack rate for most is 1 lakh, 2 lakhs per asset.
Per asset.
Okay, and then also when you're not treated properly as a client, it's very concerning. It's very concerning. It's very disturbing. What client servicing do we get? Nothing. And on top of that, they behave as if they're doing us a favor. Warehouse is not a random brand. Warehouse is not something that I feel can be taken for granted. And then don't collaborate. Then don't say yes to an association. Don't say yes to the money if it does not matter to you. There's some influencers with whom working with has been a cakewalk. Surprisingly, these are the larger ones. That's what tells you why they stand out from the crowd, because they are willing to take clients' feedback. They want to brainstorm. They love their work, and that is when it becomes engaging. That is when it becomes interesting for us as well. The second the conversation becomes anarchist, whenever it becomes one way, once it becomes a monologue, you lose interest, right?
And I think those influencers who have continued to, make it big in the market are those who really understand not only the audience or the kind of content that works, but also the smaller groups or the niches in the audience. Just taking those collaborations which probably resonate with them or resonate with their audience would help us more. And probably that is why even when we as a brand select the influencers with whom we want to work in, we really look at the type of audience or the type of content that they have made in at least the past 6 months, so that the interests align. And probably that is how this market will go forward.
So what I feel is that if there are any influencers that are watching it, or recently I even gave a talk in one of the universities, and the talk somehow moved on to a couple of kids asking, how do they become influencers?
They ask this question.
They ask the question because, Chalavi, it's very natural. Today, for example, it becomes it's definitely a profession that people are asking for. There is a demand in the market purely on economics. Today, even if someone's in a job, they are getting paid an X amount, right? With an influencer, when you hear numbers, in fact, I was reading an article on it, that how influencer marketing is affecting Gen Z psyche. That when you work on a monthly basis, you slog, etc., all of that. And then when you see costings of influencers, that these girls are getting paid 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh, 2 lakh, and they're not even delivering anything.
That makes a lot of sense, because all of these people, like, us who are doing their jobs, we get paid by the month, and we're getting that amount for just one asset.
I
don't see why it's
why it's affecting psyche of youngsters. Now the thing is that if you want to become an influencer, one, please treat your clients well. It's true for us as well that when we work with our brands, we treat them well, we treat them with respect, because that is where your money is coming from.
Agreed.
If you do not treat them well, even if you're an influencer, what is an influencer? Influencer is someone who is, today it's become sort of, I would say at some point it was at the top of marketing. Now it's become very generalized, and every few years you see a cycle coming into marketing where the previous aspect of marketing dies. It's just how it is. At one point it was radio, at another point it was television, then it was magazines, then it was digital, then it was meta, then it was influencers, and now before you know it, someone will come up with something else. At that point, it's very important, even for people who exist today, it's very important for influencers to treat their clients well. There were so many red flags for us that went around. One of the leading influencers out of Mumbai, this duo, they lost one of our outfits. We'd sent something to them to shoot, and they lost an outfit from a leading designer. It's not something that I've bought. Why should I pay 40,000 bucks to the designer? The designer's not going to let me, that it's not out of my production, right? The designer's not going to waive it off for me. They lost an outfit, and after that what followed was a screaming match. There wasn't an apology, there wasn't a redressal, nothing. She could have simply just said, Mudita, I'm sorry, I'm shifting homes, we've lost the outfit in transit, allow me a week, let me find it. Sure enough, that outfit was found by her only, by her team only. They had misplaced it, they found it. But instead of calming down the situation, they just escalated it for no reason. And then to turn around and say, this is how I talk. I'm sorry, I do not appreciate that. That is not how you talk to a paying client. Am I doing a barter? No. Am I doing this FOC? No. I'm a paying client.
And also, keeping aside all of these things, you need to be treated like a professional.
Exactly.
That's the first thing out of it.
Exactly.
Because in the end, this whole thing is in a professional setup, how much ever frank they get in front of their audience when you're doing some sort of business with them.
But that's the irony, right? That they're not frank in front of their audience. Today, just on the way to work, I was seeing one of the influencers talking about an ensemble that she was wearing. The outfit was hideous, but she was praising it to the moon. Why? Because it must be a paying client, right? So they're not frank in front of their audience. Let's face it. And when they're pissed off with the client, otherwise this thing you'll see ad coming. If they've had an altercation, and if they've had some sort of a disagreement, then you get to know. In fact, now they use that thing just to discredit the asset that's going up. It'll say ad,
sponsored or paid partnership.
They say with that Insta thing, that the text that you can add, they write ad on it, which just discredits the whole thing.
That is so detrimental to the brand.
It's so
yeah.
So, and then they've gone on these rants about brands not dealing with them and this and that. But I think it's high time that they sit and reflect upon it, which is why a lot of luxury brands have started moving away from influencer marketing already. Yes, let's get this done, let's get that done. But the fact of the matter is that how is it helping us? And then when we sit and when we run our analytics, when we do the post-mort, is when we realize that it did not help in any which way. So why work with them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So yeah, coming back to the pandemic, we had to cancel the event, and all these girls were like, "Sorry, no, not happening, not paying you back." I said, "Listen,
You repaid the designers, right?
I paid the designers. We refunded every single brand. Pandemic, which has been announced by the global authorities, and as and when we come back, we'll figure it out. No, no, sorry, we can't pay you back." Then what we did was, by God's grace, we launched the website. At that point, I didn't even have the website in clean sight. Or said, okay, fine, forget it. Let's just keep the money with them. We'll see what to do. Then when we launched the website, we gave them all codes. Like Mudita
Yeah.
05, Charuvi 05.
Yeah.
We gave them all these codes, said, okay, fine, the money is with you. Let's see how this goes. Now, for an offline event, you can't track sales. You
Agreed.
can't track sales.
Yeah.
You can track registration.
Registrations of
Yeah.
footfall to some extent, but not the sales.
Yeah. You can track registrations, but you can't track sales.
Yeah.
In online, you can track sales, especially if there's a discount code involved.
Definitely.
I kid you not, there was not a single sale that came from the influencer. When we had every single designer that you can think of, we had them all online. The website was going crazy back then, but there was not a single conversion that came out of the influencers, which was my first eye-opener that it's just for awareness. At that point also, I pegged it as awareness. Now when my link clicks also stop showing, when my registrations also stop showing, it makes me wonder what's going on. Another thing that was a very big eye-opener for me, I was in a chat with an influencer. It was a panel discussion. This is a Delhi-based influencer, again very well known. She ended up revealing, I don't know how, why, what came over her, that my audience is all male. My audience follows me like a pin-up girl. I was in a state of
Like, your audience follows her.
no, she said this about her audience, that her audience is all male. Her audience follows her like a pin-up girl, as you know, as content for consumption.
Okay.
And I was like, why have I been working with her? And then when you think about it, if you see, every single post of hers has the shadiest comments by men. I'll show it to you after the podcast. But the main thing for me is about ROI. What is the ROI I'm getting from them? At present, it's zilch. What is the awareness that I'm getting from them? Over time, that has also reduced. In the beginning, it was very much there because it was all authentic, it was all good, etc. That very tangible dip. And then the third is that I don't think my TG is following them anymore. I don't think so. Until and unless you're like super macro.
I think probably because of the saturation of the market, or because of the, this want for more money and more collaborations, I think they're not being honest anymore with both the brand and the audience. Because like you said a few minutes back, that they're not frank with their audience. The outfit was hideous and it was not even good, but she was still praising it just because she was getting paid. So that is lying to your audience. Your audience, why does anyone follow an influencer? Because we like their personality, or we like their style, we like their taste, and we want to, probably take inspiration from it. But if they start lying to their audience, then what's the point? And then again, if they're lying to the audience, they're also lying to the brand, because whatever engagement they're getting is not honest. If they're not accountable for it. Like this example that you gave, probably if a brand or if a person who's working in influencer marketing opens the page and sees the number of followers and the engagement, they might yield good results, but the quality is not there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would take complete responsibility for making the wrong choices. Now, I think for us, we are strongly leaning away from influencer marketing for the heck of influencer marketing, because it does not hold the same merit anymore. Earlier, the girls were a lot more professional. They were a lot more humble. All of a sudden, they have got this celebrity status, which I think has gone to their heads, and it's not working out. So, either they need to get their act together. The ones that continue to be brand friends continue to be brand friends. They treat us well, they get treated well. It's a collaborative effort, and I'm here for it. But in a situation where it stops being a collaborative effort, where it stops being the synergy of, where it stops being the right synergy between two brands, it's better to step away.
I think there's a need for, the brands also to have more selectivity and authenticity, like, checking the authenticity of the influencer.
Absolutely.
Selecting them in a better way, only selecting those who actually portray their interest to the audience, work with niches, and probably that's how this will evolve. What are your views on it?
Absolutely. And can I give one more truth bomb in this? 90% of the time, the influencers are suggested by PR agencies. Okay, now even we have been working with PR agencies for a while. Every agency gets a 15% finder's fee from the influencer. So the influencers that they recommend to you, the influencer is already paying them. Now, if the influencer is charging you 1 lakh, the agency is getting 15,000 for it, for that association.
So that means the agencies are recommending only their influencers to you to get a fee. So where's the honest?
Okay. Exactly. So the agency recommends influencers to you that they have on their roster, who they have an insider sort of they're commissioned on the thing. Now the other thing is that you as a brand, because you want to grow your business, you want to grow your footprint, you will reach out to an agency. We also are perpetually reaching out to different agencies because we want to grow our markets, right? That is just what every brand follows.
It also helps more than, contacting each influencer on our own. We want them to do the work.
Exactly. Now that is the overall growth of a brand. Now if an agency starts pegging only their influencers to you because they are commissionable, it's really screwed up. But that is what happens more often than not. It's a fact. It's a fact. Ask the PR team. They would tell you. We've noticed that so many times when we reach out to an influencer directly, we get lower prices, and then the agency comes back to us with higher prices. So that is how we out of that you have to give us 15%. That's it. We got it. That this is what they're doing when it's when it's reverse.
That makes a lot of sense. So how do you feel, like, as a brand owner, how do you feel people should approach this whole vertical of influencer marketing?
Tell me something. Let me turn that question back to you. At that point, with your rosy tinted classes, all of you said influencer marketing, influencer marketing, influencer marketing. What are your honest thoughts on influencer marketing today?
I really think that personally, a very stringent vetting process is needed. Like, if I have to help in the selection of the influencer for an event or something, I honestly go through at least 100 or 200 of their latest posts and how the engagement, how the comments have been, because it's very deceiving what shows up on the first screen when you open the profile of an influencer. Like most influencers, it's so deceiving. You might see a very high follower count, a large number of mutuals following them. When you open the post, you'll see a lot of engagement, but when you start reading the comments,
they're shady.
It's disheartening. The profiles that are commenting, are they real? Are they fake? Do they even understand what the post is about? No, there's no clarity about it. And those influencers have loads and loads of endorsements from the brands. They're endorsing this brand, that brand. There's no continuity in the narrative. And that is honestly disheartening, because on the face of it, it looked so good. And personally, I would rather go to those pages that disseminate information, actual information, rather than a beautiful girl with a good fashion sense endorsing a brand.
So earlier, even when I had to shop, say for summer, winter, I used to follow influencer pages. This I'm talking as a consumer, not as a brand owner. I would follow certain influencer pages. Where are they buying from? And they're not buying. Then I realized that they're not buying from them. This is product placement. Then it came to, okay, fine, let me see some, because some people I like their aesthetic sense. There are some people's aesthetic sense that I still like, and I see their pages for. You can tell as a consumer that this is organic placement and this is inorganic placement. Okay, so that is helpful. Okay, and then over a period of time, I realized that the organic placement is reducing and the inorganic placement is increasing. That is when I pressed unfollow.
And that is in a day and age when we see that, organic content, the so-called organic content, performs so well even on our pages. But when it comes to these influencers, the organic content is actually reduced.
So with Warehouse, we had a strong policy that we will never do DIYs. We'll never do get ready with me's. We'll never do, content which is not true to us. For Warehouse, the tonality has always remained that this is the brand, this is what you need, this is what the brand is doing. If we are even positioning, not even if, mostly we are positioning other brands, right? Designer A, designer B, designer C. So this is designer A, this is brand A, this is where you need to do to, this is what the brand is doing, and this is where you need to go to acquire it. That's it. That has been our tonality, that has been our niche, and that is where people follow us. Now all of a sudden, if we start doing DIYs and get ready with me's and this and that, people will be like, what's going on?
They'll be very confused.
With influencer marketing, coming back to that, I think if I were to speak from Warehouse's point of view, I would still say, never say never. If, as you said, the research is in the right place, you guys are vetting the right profiles, the profiles are showing up with green flags, sure, on both them. Okay, there are certain 4 or 5 of them that are they've still got a green shit from my end to you guys, that I'm okay working with these guys. But where things go south for me is that after finalizing, when people behave badly, okay, useless arguments with my team, useless noise.
A lot of drama that
there's a lot of
most of them.
I think there's a lot of drama that follows most of them, absolutely. And then it's just unpleasant for the heck of being unpleasant.
Yes.
And last but not the least, when I don't get the desired result, when I don't
get actually the one that they promised.
None of them promise.
Oh,
none of them promise anything. The promise is what you have in your head, and of course, lack of authenticity, lack of ownership, lack of responsibility.
I really think it's crucial for the brands, for all of the brands collectively, to move beyond simply looking at the follow count or the engagement rates. They need to delve deeper and understand each of the influencers' niches, their audiences, and their actual impact on the audience. And there you have it, folks. The influencer world, a minefield of possibilities and potential pitfalls. Thank you so much, Madhura ma'am, for this insightful conversation. Let's all hope that we navigate through this influencer world with grace and a healthy dose of humor.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun for me as well. Thanks a ton.
Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel for our most exciting content. And remember, authenticity is the new black. Bye bye.